Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Lisa Woodruff. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Very good. Well, I'm very excited to have you on this podcast. And we're going to have a great conversation about organization and the importance of it. And, we're all about systems. So that's definitely something that is very dear to me. And I love talking about that. But first of all, I'm going to read your bio. So you are the founder and CEO of Organize 365. And you and 87% of Americans believe organization is a learnable skill. Well, I'm in those 87% as well, because it's definitely a learnable skill. And but yet less than 18% of those same Americans feel they are organized. So yes, we know we can learn the skill, but we don't really feel organized. So that is where you solve the problem. So you are the host of the top-rated Organized 365 podcast with 24 million downloads and counting. You share strategies for reducing the overwhelm, clearing the mental clutter, and living a productive and organized life. That's amazing, Lisa. That's absolutely amazing. And of course, you have your book as well. So let's mention that right off the bat. So our listeners, if they would like to get it, they know where to get it. So why don't you mention where they can get the book?
Okay, so my latest book is called Escaping Quicksand, 10 Steps to Overcome the Overwhelm of Modern Home Life, and it's available where all books are sold.
Okay, good. So we know we can go to Amazon and get it. That would be an easy clue.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, Lisa, how did you get started with organization? What drove you to become a professional organizer that can help others with that?
I just had like 18 stories flood my brain at the same time. I think I've always been an organized child. Like I liked organizing my bedroom when my mom would send me there for timeout, probably because I was too chatty. She was like, my ears need a break. You should go to your room. And then I would reorganize my bedroom. When I babysat for kids, I would reorganize and clean and organize the houses after the kids went to bed because I wasn't a big TV watcher. And then as a stay-at-home mom, I would organize my house continually. Like every 3 months, I had to keep reorganizing because the kids' growth and development changed all the time. So when I was turning 40 and I was thinking, what do I want my future career to be now that my stay-at-home mom days are, not full-time, needed full-time anymore? I thought, well, I like organizing. Or I've gotten jobs before because I've been organized. So I'll name the company Organize 365 because I know I could talk about organizing for the rest of my life. But I didn't know that I was a professional organizer at that time. It was 3 months later when somebody told me I was a professional organizer. I was like, oh, yeah, I can do that. So I started organizing in people's homes for 6 years and started the podcast. And then what I realized was in households, we really don't have systems. Like in business, you get to choose among all the different systems that are out there for bookkeeping, for marketing, for whatever. But in households, we as household managers have to research and find and cobble together and DIY our own systems at home.
That's very true. That's very true. So, we mainly talk in this podcast about systems for businesses, but I thought it would be a good way to also, it would be good to also introduce systems for the home, because if you have systems at home and you're organized, then you also have that mental space in order to produce better in your business.
Yeah, and it was through growing the business and hiring team members and having to create systems in order for us to all work collaboratively together when I went, I don't have any of these at home. And that's when I went, wow. And also realizing that many women start businesses and don't continue in their businesses, or they started working for me and they couldn't continue working for me because their household systems either didn't exist or they broke and they didn't have the capacity for both. And push come to shove, you're always going to choose home instead of work. Like financially, you may need the work, but nobody else can do the work at home but you. So you don't really have a choice. And I was like, wow, this lack of systems in households is really holding women back in what they want to do and their capacity for doing just because they are creating and managing these systems on their own.
Very true. So let's talk about what are the most important systems that you have to have in every household?
So I think it all comes down to planning, right? Like at the end of the day, if I had to say like what's the one through line of every single thing in all the systems that I've created, it's going to be planning because there's so much work to do and we don't really realize how much work we're doing at home. Like even if you just look at the visible housework, which would be laundry, cleaning, and anything food related, that's going to be a dozen or more hours a week, probably closer to 20. And you think I'm lying until you do a time study and you're like, I'll be darned. Like it takes so much time just to make sure we have enough food in the house and then to prepare it and then clean it and then all of that.
It's a full-time job. I mean,
it is
kind of like
it
you're
is a
running a
full-time
restaurant,
job.
a laundromat,
Yes.
instant, a shopping facility. I mean, you have all of that, right, going on. A cleaning agency all at once.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you're doing it only for one home, but it still takes time.
Yeah, and it's even worse because you're only doing it for one home because you can't specialize and be like, I'll clean 5 homes and you do laundry for 5, then you can get operational efficiency. No, you have to keep task switching. And that's just the visible work. Then there's the invisible work of scheduling and ensuring and planning and managing and doing all the holidays and all of those things. And that's just the management. That's not including parenting. That's not professional development. That's not taking care of ourselves and our hygiene. Like there is so much work. And so over the last 15 years of growing the company, every time I think I've got this systematized, I'm like, oh, shoot, there's a whole nother department we're in charge of. There's a whole nother system that we need. Yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot.
It totally is. So give us some tips about how to even start systematizing.
Yeah. You don't want to just leave people at the bottom of the pit of despair thinking, quicksand, we can't just call this a day.
Now we understand
okay, all right.
hours, but nothing can be done. No, tell me what can be done about it.
So number one, just recognize this is a full-time job. It really is a full-time job. And you can get it down to part-time hours, but you can't eliminate it entirely. Like even when you go on vacation, you still need to eat and you still need to have clothing and all of those things. So recognize that there is work to be done here. And then let's approach it with a systems mindset of like, do we even want to do the work at all? Because if you don't want to do the work at all and you can afford it, get somebody to clean your house. You can send out your laundry. Like there are options once you realize that the work isn't going to go away. But just like in business, not all of the work can be done at A+ level all of the time because we don't have that much resources and energy capacity. So what are the things that you really want to have A+ level on? And what are the things that you just want done or that you're not going to do? Like a great way to eliminate work is to just have paper plates. It's not great for the environment, but also it saves you a lot of time. And there are seasons when you're sick or in really busy seasons where paper plates may be a really great option or paper plates for a certain meal, but then we have dinner on regular plates. You see what I'm saying? Like start to think about all the work that you're doing and figure out what work you can reduce. Now,
so when I say thinking outside the box here.
Yes. And the more you can think about how you would apply business principles to the household, it's easier to think about because if you're just thinking about your household, you're so in it, it's hard to see it.
Well, I guess one of the principles will be to delegate. And when we document, what we do is we document processes and procedures and implement it for businesses. So yes. The key component of delegation, the first thing is that you have to be very precise about what you are delegating
yes.
and give that person you are delegating to a checklist, a written instructions, etc. And honestly, I found that also works at home because if you want your kids to do something, you have to train them on how to do it.
Yeah. And 2 things I would say about that idea of delegating and checklist. Number 1, family members don't like to be delegated to. And they're inconsistent employees. So they may do the job really well for a period of time and then they stop doing it and then you have to nag. And I'm sure you've been in that situation before. So mostly what I've done, because I haven't really delegated well is I either eliminate the work entirely or I reduce the scope a lot. Like when you make a checklist, this is my tendency. I'm like, okay, well, in a perfect world, there'd be 12 steps to doing this job, and I'm going to make this nice long checklist. Okay, that's great. But we don't live in a perfect world, and nobody wants to do that much work. So if it's 12 steps, could you do it in 6? Could you do it in 3? Could you do it every other week instead of every week? Like this work is not going anywhere. Like how low can we make the bar as to what we will accept in our household? Because the return is that you actually get time. You get time, your family gets time to, like, I don't know, take a walk, read a book, do a puzzle, go to the gym. Like, we don't want to be doing more and more work. We don't need to make our work perfect. How can you reduce it as much as possible?
Right. So when you work with clients, I mean, where do you start?
Yes. So it used to be in home and we would actually get the whole home organized. Now it's all online. And so you just sign up for different parts of the Organized 365. Basically, it's a school to teach you how to get organized. So some people will be like, I want to get the physical spaces in my house done. So they do the productive home solution and we go through every single space in the home and declutter and organize it. Some people are thinking like, oh my goodness, my mom fell and broke her back. And now I am the power of attorney and she's got all these file cabinets I don't even know what to do with. So they do the information management piece, the paper solution. They declutter those file cabinets, turn them into binders so that they can better advocate for their loved ones as power of attorney, power of healthcare, or settling estate. And then once women are in my ecosphere for a while and they're leadership oriented, as your audience is, they're like, well, I want to win at home like I'm winning at work. Like, I think a lot of why I love going to work is because, I mean, I get accolades, I get attaboys, I get people who are like, oh, that was a great podcast you did. I was like, oh, thank you. But there's no one walk around going, man, that refrigerator looks good. Like we don't get any of that at home. So we're leadership oriented. And then when we're around other people who are also elevating their leadership at home, not just to the household manager level, but to the CEO level, like what is the whole point of this organization? Strategically, as a family, what are the goals that we want to achieve this year? How can we bring some of that business rigor into the household so we let all of those little tasks go and we aren't as focused on all the little things like what at work would be meetings and emails and more focused on the strategic objectives at work, which would be like the holidays, the vacations, the big memorable birthdays, and putting all of our time and effort into things we're going to remember next year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you take really a strategy and then execution, just like anything else. Absolutely. So so you deal with the physical space, which has to be also organized because otherwise it's hard to manage, just like in an office, if you don't have, things in a manufacturing plant, if you don't have the actual production line, you want to be able to manufacture. So if you don't have it organized, then it's hard to execute. So how much organization is just too much in your opinion?
Yeah. So I think that we tend to focus at home, like even when you think about creating a system at home, you're like, oh yeah, I can get my housework reduced or I can organize the physical spaces of our house. We tend not to think about planning, systematizing, organizing our papers, our information management that is digitally organized. We usually think about the physical things we can see. And so what I would say is that's usually where people start. That's awesome. And there are some improvements that you can make in your physical organizing that will make a lot of difference. Like I call a storage room a prepaid store. It's in the word storage. It's a store. Does your storage room look like a store? If it does, it would have, like mine do, it would have shelving in it with bins. It would not have piled up boxes. It wouldn't have, discarded old things in there. So in that way, yes, you can make better improvements on your physical organizing. But truth be told, within a year to 18 months, your physical space is pretty much going to match whatever phase of life you're in, but you'll still have excess organizing capacity and you'll have energy to do more organizing. This is when you go into invisible organizing and then move that time into planning. So we do weekly
planning. What is invisible organizing?
Oh, yeah. Well, the invisible organizing is like organizing, there's so much I don't even know where to start. Like organizing all of the holidays or organizing the calendar where kids are going to go and when they're going to get there, organizing the recurring things that you need to order from different stores on a regular basis, bill pay, taxes, anything that you can't just see it in your environment. It's on the computer, it's on paper, or it's in your head.
Interesting. It's very similar to business as well, because that's like when you do the knowledge transfer, how much is too much, sometimes go into too much documentation, which we don't want. But on the other hand, we want to make sure that we keep it high level enough so it's usable and can be duplicated. And once you achieve that, then you can go to the next level and the next level. So you are basically taking the same approach and you're using it for the home. And I guess it's also a subjective, it's a subjective action because it's how it makes you feel. I mean, if you feel like you're organized and you have accomplished what you wanted, great. Then checked, done, I've accomplished that. But if you don't, then there is more to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. This is really, really helpful, I'm sure, for many business owners. What are your thoughts, Lisa, in terms of throwing things away or giving things and opening some space for new things? How do you approach that subject?
Yeah, so decluttering before you're going to start organizing. Like I'm at the end of my PhD. I actually defend my dissertation tomorrow. And I walked in the office. I was like, I want to get rid of everything related to getting the PhD in here. Like I'm so ready to declutter that and get ready to do my next project. I think we're the same way at home. Like sometimes, especially in the spring or the new year, we're like, okay, it's time to make a little bit of space for whatever is coming next. I want to declutter. So seasonally, I love to do a little bit of decluttering, but once you've decluttered and gotten organized the first time, you're never going to have that huge decluttering again. And so a lot of times we're looking for that. We're like, that felt so great when we did it the first time. Let's do it again. But you've already done it. You really don't have as much to declutter anytime after that. And so you need to build your organizing muscles and use that to tackle some of this invisible work or move more into strategic planning at home, just like in business. Like you need to level yourself up into the higher level tasks.
That's great. So, Lisa, if our listeners would like to reach out to you, I mean, of course, we already talked about your book, but if they want to reach out to you and know how to work with you or get your help or ask you questions, how can they do that?
Yeah, so the website is called organize365.com. And then I have a podcast by the same name, Organize365. And I'm most active on Instagram at Organize365.
Very easy. It's all about Organize365.
Yes.
So, Lisa, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. It's been a great conversation, a little bit of a spin on the systems, but how you can actually use it at home, because that's part of our lives as well, a big part of our lives.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.